No, I'm going to do it again.
Hey, Tom.
How you doing?
Hey, good.
Spell my name.
Well, you're getting closer.
Yeah, I know. I
There you
think I may change it to Antoinette J. Curry.
That would make it simpler for all of us.
It would, wouldn't it? Hi, Reese.
Hi, Tom. How are you?
Well, we're all alive.
Good.
Kicking, sort of.
Oh, yeah. Small favors.
Yes. So, Reese, this is your swan song. Are you going to sing for us?
I don't think you would like that very much. It would not be a great experience for anybody.
It might be funny.
Yeah, that's
I'll
true.
join in and I'll guarantee it'll be funny.
There you go. I can do that. I wouldn't mind singing with you. No. Yep, it's the last one. But it's time.
Yeah, it's the end of an era, you know.
Yeah. The old one's bowing out.
The Reese era.
Oh. the
Hi,
Reese
Rachel.
era.
You're
You're on the
muted.
Poly Coast today, huh?
Hmm?
You're on the
Here we go.
Poly Coast today.
Good evening, Tom. How are
I
you?
think so, yeah.
We're all here. We're just ready to have fun.
Oh, boy.
Like
The
it.
few of us that are left.
Yeah.
I mean, what's
Reese, I'm sorry you'll be leaving.
Oh, it's time.
You are, yeah.
I hope your health improves or doesn't cause more
Well, that's the
problems.
point. It's not going to. So, but it's not life threatening. It's just pain creating,
Oh,
that's just part of getting old. Rachel,
Yep.
your time will come.
I have sitting next to me a yoga ball so I can improve my posture at my computer. So yeah.
If we only had good posture all our lives.
That's a fact.
Aches and pains.
All right, let's see. Well, I am on my iPad, so I can see some names, but not all names. So a reminder that if you've got something to say, wave your hand and Jen will catch it. All right, let's see. Do we have everybody?
I believe we're waiting on Commissioner Schneider, Elkind, and Heaven Ridge.
Thanks very much. We can give them a minute.
Have we said happy birthday to Commissioner Cahill yet and sung to him or anything like
Oh,
that?
can we sing to David?
We
Yeah, you and
How
Reese
old are you,
together.
David? 25?
Next question.
Happy birthday, David.
should. Happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday,
Thank
David.
you.
Happy birthday, David.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear David.
Happy
to
birthday to you
I'm-
and many
And many
more.
more.
I'm so glad this was recorded.
Too.
I was
Where's the
going to do the
last one?
harmony, but nobody else was singing.
You know,
We're the talented commission.
he has the burden of leadership.
Very true.
And then there's the smart ones of us who know to keep our mouths shut when everybody's singing.
Everybody can sing.
Yeah, I know.
All right. I see Commissioner Schneider. Who else, Jen?
Commissioner Elkind has joined. We are just missing Commissioner Heavenridge.
Paul knows how to make an entrance. Give him one more minute.
And I'll send him an email right now and give him a little text.
That'd be great. Beautiful day today, wasn't it? He may have decided that the day was, the day in the evening was more attractive than a library commission meeting. How would that be possible?
It's illegal.
Masochist society, is that what they call us?
When it hits 3, I'll get started. Okay, why don't I get started and Paul can join us when he gets here. So I am going to call the meeting to order at 6:03 and I am going to take the roll. Commissioner Cahill,
Here.
Commissioner Elkind,
Here.
Commissioner Engbarth,
Here,
Commissioner Foxen,
Here,
Commissioner Heavenridge, yeah. Okay, Commissioner Hauser,
Here,
Commissioner McKenzie,
Here.
Commissioner Parker,
Here,
Commissioner Schneider.
Here.
Okay, we've at least got most of us. And let's see, and pursuant to California Code Section 54953, all votes during this teleconference meeting shall be taken by roll call. So are there any members of the public who wish to address the commission on matters not on the agenda? Please request recognition at this time pursuant to the above described protocols. Do we have any public comments?
I don't see anyone with their hand raised, and I did not receive any written comments.
Okay, then we are going to move into item 4, which are our action items by resolution, and so we will take let's see, 4.1, the resolution establishing a need to hold teleconference meetings due to proclaimed state of emergency. Is there any public comment on that? Okay, do I have a motion?
I
I'll
move,
move
it.
approval.
I heard Commissioner Engbarth, and Barbara, was that you seconding?
I was saying at the same time, but I'll second is fine with me. Yeah.
Okay.
Just to move it.
Sorry. All right, then any discussion? Then I'll call the roll. Commissioner Cahill,
Yes.
Commissioner Elkind,
Yes.
Commissioner Engbarth,
yes,
Commissioner Foxen,
yes,
Commissioner Heavenridge. Oh, sorry, Commissioner Hauser. Commissioner Hauser,
yes,
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Commissioner Parker,
yes.
Commissioner Schneider. And I'll make it unanimous. Oh, sorry. Thanks, Karen. And I'll make it unanimous of those of us who are here. Okay. The next resolution is a resolution to adjourn the meeting tonight in honor of Sonoma County Library Commissioner Sam Mulford. We are very sad to announce that Commissioner Mulford resigned early last week and then died rather suddenly last week as well. And she was only with us for over a year on the commission, but she has certainly been active in library matters for a very long time. And so I would like to use my my privilege as chair to read the resolution to adjourn the meeting in her honor. Is there? I think I actually did it incorrectly in the last item. Do I have a motion to approve
I-
this?
Move to approve.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any public comment? That's how I'm supposed to do it. Is there any public comment? Okay, hearing none, then I will read the resolution. Resolution to adjourn the February 7th, 2022 meeting of the Sonoma County Library Commission in honor of Commissioner Sam Mulford. Whereas Cheryl and Sam Mulford served on the Sonoma County Library Commission from December 2020 through January 2022 as an appointee for the County of Sonoma. And whereas Commissioner Mulford had a long association with the Sonoma County Library, providing planning, strategy, and capacity building in her role as a nationally known strategist and staunch library supporter. And whereas Commissioner Mulford had a distinguished career as an architect and environmental designer prior to her spending more than 2 decades as a strategist and consultant with libraries, as well as public and nonprofit agencies, and was known for her work on library strategic planning. And whereas Commissioner Mulford brought her inquisitive nature and risk-embracing attitude to work and life, her mother swears that her first word was why, and she committed herself to helping libraries develop strategic perspectives through dialogue focused on what if, what then, how might we. And whereas Commissioner Mulford consistently sought to maximize the contributions of all involved to elevate the library's ability to act as a driving force in the prosperity of Sonoma County. And whereas Commissioner Mulford sadly passed away on February 3rd, 2022, therefore be it resolved by the Sonoma County Library Commission that the commission hereby expresses its heartfelt appreciation to Commissioner Mulford, its condolences to her family, and honors her on this day for her contributions to the Sonoma County Library and the people of Sonoma County. And that when the commission adjourns this day, it does so in honor and appreciation to Cheryl and Sam Mulford. I have to say, Sam was a friend for a long time, and I'm very sad about this. She really was a strategic thinker, and she was also amazingly fun to hang out with at library conferences. She was raised in the South and close enough to New Orleans so that she spent far too much time, even as a minor, having fun in New Orleans. And so I hope, raise a glass to her after this meeting, because she was lots of fun, and she was just really good people. Any other commissioner comments?
We have
Okay.
Commissioner Schneider.
Commissioner Schneider.
Yes, I just wanted to share as well that it was really hard to hear of her death, and what a great, vivacious, intelligent, library-loving spirit she was. She will be missed.
She will be. Thanks, Commissioner Schneider. Moving on to a more positive.
Chair Doyle, I believe. Oh, we did take a vote already. I'm sorry.
We good? All right. Anybody else?
We have to vote on this.
Thank you, Commissioner Hauser. Then I will call the roll. Commissioner Cahill,
Yes.
Commissioner Elkin,
Yes.
Commissioner Engbarth,
Yes.
Commissioner Foxen.
Yes.
Is Commissioner Heavenridge with us? Okay. Commissioner Hauser,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Commissioner Parker,
Yes.
Commissioner Schneider,
Yes.
and I will vote yes also. Okay, moving on to the next resolution, the happier resolution, to adjourn next month's meeting, the March 7th meeting in honor of Sonoma County Library Commissioner Reese Foxen. Now, as you might expect, we were going to adjourn tonight's meeting in Reese's honor, but then Commissioner Mulford died, and Commissioner Foxen was incredibly gracious enough to say no, honor Commissioner Mulford, but we're going to honor them both. So we wanted to make sure that the resolution for Commissioner Foxen was in the agenda packet, because this is going to be her last evening with us as a commissioner. So who would like to read the resolution?
I would like to.
Thank you, Commissioner Elkin.
Excuse me, I'm going to just pull it up on my own computer where I can see it a little more clearly. Resolution to adjourn the March 7, 2022 meeting of the Sonoma County Library Commission in honor of Commissioner Reese Foxen. Whereas Commissioner Reese Foxen was the chair of the Sonoma County Library Commission from July 2018 through July 2020, leading the commission through crucial changes and events, including the successful recruitment of a permanent library director, the expansion of library services in response to the passage of the Measure Y sales tax, and the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. And whereas Commissioner Foxen joined the Library Commission in 2014 as part of a new commission created by the revised Joint Powers Agreement, and made it her mission to support the commission in its role as a productive and supportive oversight body. And whereas Commissioner Foxen embodies a servant leader approach to governance, bringing not only her vast experience and ability to her role as a commissioner, but also a sense of humility and curiosity to all she does. And whereas Commissioner Foxen served on both library sales tax campaigns, and whereas Commissioner Foxen is a staunch supporter of diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts in society and at the library, and authored or supported multiple measures, actions, and statements made by the library to recognize its role in leading society to greater inclusivity and equity. And whereas Commissioner Foxen has a lifelong history as a librarian, starting at age 4, when her grandmother brought her to work at the family grocery store and lending library. Therefore, be it resolved by the Sonoma County Library Commission that the commission hereby expresses its heartfelt appreciation to Commissioner Reese Foxen and honor her for her many contributions to the Sonoma County Library and the people of Sonoma County. And that when the commission adjourns March 7, 2022, it does so in honor and appreciation to Reese Foxen.
Are you making that motion, Commissioner Elkin?
I am, please.
I would love to
Second.
second that. Oh,
Second.
okay. Commissioner Cahill was first as a second. Any public discussion?
I would just like to add to that,
Sure.
Commissioner Doyle, if I may, some personal thanks, because Reese was the commissioner when I joined the commission, and whoever was the commissioner in Healdsburg before me had left without any kind of handoff. And I took on the role knowing nothing about it. And Reese, as I said to you the other day, you were so warm and gracious and welcoming and helpful to me in getting me on board and helping me understand the responsibilities of a commissioner. I'm very, very grateful to you, and I thank you for your leadership and the wonderful contribution you've made to the library and the Sonoma County community.
Commissioner Cahill, your hand is up.
Yeah, I'd like to join Andy in appreciating Reese's efforts to include the new commissioners, the class of 2018. I also did not get a handoff, but she made us all feel welcome and put us all to work.
Commissioner McKenzie, your hand is up.
Yes, I feel like I've said goodbye to Reese a couple of times and thanked her a couple of times, and I've been, grateful that she's been willing to stay on and continue to serve on the commission. So I want to say that I met Reese at All Lab Day, one of the possibly the last all lab day. We're really at all the labs. We're both lab people at the time. We worked on both the sales tax measures together back in M days when we didn't have any money and we were driving around in your truck putting signs up. And I want to say that you're a researcher par excellence. When we were trying to find more avenues for money, you did an incredible amount of research to try to find out how to fund libraries. And we've been colleagues for 7.5 years on the commission, and I really appreciate you. You'd probably be the first to say that we don't always agree, but we have been colleagues, and I appreciate you, your stalwart support of the libraries, your love of the libraries, and all you've done for Sonoma County Library. So thank you, Reese.
Certainly echoing all these wonderful comments. I moved up here and just as Measure Y was starting, and I have pictures of Reese putting signs together in my backyard and then taking off in the truck, as you say. You have been so dedicated and a peacemaker at times when the commission was less than peaceful. So we so appreciate it, and we're not going to let you get away. So you may not be on the commission, but you're going to be doing things for the library. We promise you that. So if there are no other comments, I'll take the roll. I'll take the vote for that. Commissioner Cahill, I believe you seconded. And Commissioner Elkin, you firsted, you moved. So Commissioner Egbert?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Commissioner well, you have to vote on yourself. Commissioner Foxen? That's a yes.
Abstain on that one, but it's
Commissioner Evanridge, are you here? Okay. Commissioner Fauser?
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie?
Enthusiastic, yes.
And Commissioner Parker?
Yes.
Commissioner Schneider?
Heartfelt yes.
Wonderful. All right, then we will adjourn in your honor next month, but you're not going to get very far. Okay, our next one is a resolution of a public statement on racism and social equality and social equity. I'm sorry, and I have to grab this here. And I will say, as before I take the vote, that the resolution reflects almost verbatim what is on a Sonoma County webpage. We have always said that we support equity and diversity, and it's officially been part of our statement for a long time. And so I signed this resolution with support. However, I think that that some of the background information I didn't see before I signed the resolution. There was a letter from staff, and so I think we need to be mindful about some of the conversation here. So, so is there a motion to approve this resolution, and then we can have conversation after, if there's a first and a second.
I move it.
I'll move.
I'm not sure who moved first. Let's
David
see.
was first.
Okay,
Who was second?
and who was second? Rachel was second?
I think I was second. Yeah.
Okay. All right. David first, Rachel second. And again, is there any public comment as we're the public
I
comment?
see some names of folks here in the room, but I haven't seen any hands raised yet. No written comments were submitted for this item.
Okay. Okay. We were all incredibly saddened and horrified when the flag outside the Sebastopol Library was defaced and was burned. And I think that no commissioner did not touch base and say how horrified they were. And I think this resolution is really a good statement. My thought would be, though, that because it has been on our website for a while, it would be wonderful to hear about the programming and the community outreach that the staff has been doing subsequent to that public statement that we put on the website. And I think talking about the kinds of things that will show public support for our support of equity. We really need to have some conversations with our partners, with the cities, with the towns, the buildings belong to them. And so I think that this would be an interesting first step in having some of those community conversations. But I'm not sure that we have policies in place that really define what we can do. So while I support the resolution wholeheartedly, I'm not sure in terms of all of the background information that was on the top of it. I'm not sure that I think that we need to have some additional conversations about that. Anybody have other comments before we vote on this?
Commissioners McKenzie and Schneider.
Commissioner Schneider.
Thank you. I just, first of all, my assumption is that we're voting on the language in this on this statement, right?
Correct.
So
Correct.
we're not, so anything else we read is for a later date, I understand it. So,
Correct.
So, I mean, I think this is a strong statement, and it doesn't, I have questions about what was written elsewhere, but I'm not even sure that's on the docket right now.
That's not what we're voting for, no.
Yeah, exactly. So this is good. It's really shameful to see the rise in racism and attacks on libraries. And I think this is really great in and of itself.
Thanks. Commissioner McKenzie.
Thank you. Let me just say that when I see this letterhead like this, the resolution letterhead that we've been using, up until this point, I believe they've been a lot of thank yous and recognition and so forth. And I'd like to, if we're going to get a little more complicated like this, which a proclamation comes with, or resolution comes with other background information and so forth, that we, first of all, have a procedure, a protocol, because this kind of arrived full-fledged on the docket and signed by, our chair and our director. And then there's a lot of other language here. And I realize, and I appreciate, Chair Doyle, that you're separating the two, but it's a serious and somewhat complex situation. And I, first of all, want to have a procedure for any further resolutions that come before us, that they aren't signed unless they're, thanking somebody. And that we have a opportunity to talk about them before they come off to us as a resolution. Secondly, to this resolution itself, I want to say some of the things that we were pointing out, and I'm just going to read this. The sentiments come from a good place, and the passion and the concern is evident. We are a taxpayer-funded public agency, however, and like other taxpayer-funded public agencies, we are and we must be apolitical. I'm particularly referencing the implementation procedure that came along with this about purchasing and installing Black Lives Matter banners outside all the library branches, which is a recommendation to us. Because, let's see, the History and Genealogy Library and the Least Roseland building and the rural stations, other than those, all of the buildings are owned by the cities and the county. And we represent a joint powers agreement. In some jurisdictions, the library buildings are even part of a municipal complex. So we have to have a conversation with these jurisdictional partners regarding permission to do this. And that's a first step. We don't have a banner policy. If we were going to buy and post Black Lives Matter banners on the outside of all of our libraries, what happens when the climate activists come to us and say, we want you to purchase and hang banners in our behalf? do we say that you have to wait until the Black Lives Matter banners come down? When does the Black Lives Matter come down? How big can the banners be and how long can they stay up and where can they be posted? Which entities, movements, organizations, citizens groups would we buy and hang banners for? And who decides that? And what happens when a library patron objects? These are really serious matters. They have to be addressed before I can vote on this resolution, because it does come packaged with the implementation measures that are recommended. So I'm going to recommend that we postpone this. And if not, I will need to not vote on this myself until the issues are resolved. Thank you.
Any other commission comments?
We have Commissioners Engbarth, Foxen, and Cahill.
Commissioner Foxen.
You're muted.
Okay. I think this is an apolitical issue, period. It is a community issue. And until we start talking about it, nothing is going to change. Until we start acknowledging and actually acting, nothing is going to change. We've been talking about it and doing things for years now. And nothing. I mean, well, very little, I should say. As far as the banners, yeah, I can see some of those size and stuff. But we actually, yes, the cities own the buildings, but we are the tenant. And they do not have a say in what we do with our building. As far as what we put up on it or display around it, as long as we're not attaching it to the building and painting it or changing the outsides. So I think we do need to do something. Now, yes, whatever group comes, we definitely need to consider it. Climate, absolutely. Pride, absolutely. Women's, absolutely. Black Lives Matter, absolutely. The May celebration in the Hispanic community, absolutely. I think we need to do all of this. And we need to do it openly, and we need to do it right up front. Yes, we probably will get some reaction. We're already getting it. But until we talk about it, it's not going to happen. I know the only fights my mother and I ever had growing up were around race. And I don't know if I've told this story to some of you before, but when I was about 7 or 8, we were getting on a bus to go from Manhattan Beach into LA to get school clothes or something. And all of a sudden, my mother panicked, pulled me against her. I looked around, I couldn't figure out why she was so frightened. I saw this lady standing there. She had on one of those suits and library shoes and a little pillbox hat and gloves. And no, she looked like my grandmother. She was about that age, not her. I looked around for cars, for men. I looked for something that would frighten my mother. And nothing that I could figure out. So we get on the bus and we're kind of sitting alone. And I kind of snuggled up to her and I said, "Why did you get afraid? What happened out there? What was it?" She says, "Well, you know, all," and she used the N-word, "carry switchblades." And she was referring to the lady in the suit, the library shoes that I equated with my grandmother. And that grandmother has been in my head on so many occasions in the last 75 years that it's hard to believe. When I got on a bus, I was in college, I was going up to visit my boyfriend, who happened to be Black. And the only reason I was going with him was to get at my mother. It took me a while to figure that out, but you know, a little slow sometimes as people growing up and learning. But I was going to visit him in San Francisco. I was going to San Jose State. We met working together at the library, and I was going to San Jose State at the time, and he lived in San Francisco. So I was going up to visit him. And I got in on the Greyhound, got off, got on the bus. He told me to get on. And as I was getting on, the driver looked at me and he said, "I think you're on the wrong bus." I said, this is bus so-and-so, I'm going to so-and-so, is that right? He said, yeah. Okay, sit down behind me. Happened to be a black driver. I didn't think anything about it. And we were driving along, and the minute we crossed the line into the Black community, and in those days there were still lines with Black communities, the girls who were on the bus with me all of a sudden relaxed. They started laughing and teasing each other and having fun. And I realized in the moment why the driver had me sit behind him, because he was worried about what would happen to me on the bus. And what I also realized, which hit me even harder, was these young women back there had been stiff, afraid to talk, afraid to laugh, afraid to be themselves until they were in their own community. And I realized at that moment in time that that's the way they lived all the time, that when they were out of their community, they were stiff and wrong. So these kinds of lessons and thoughts have been with me all my life. And hanging a banner out is nothing. It's a statement. It has to be a statement, and statements need to be made. And we need to be inclusive about it. I know that HR has been working very hard to expand the inclusivity of the people who work at the library. I worked hard to try and find somebody that would be more inclusive as I left, but unfortunately COVID kind of got in the way of some of that work. It's got to be talked about. It's got to be out there. And we can't mince around and say, oh, well, we have to get permission of so-and-so and so-and-so. We need to just do it.
Thank you, Commissioner Foxen.
Now you're getting me, okay. I'll shut up.
I know. You don't have to shut up, but we have lots of hands. We have lots of hands that are up. Commissioner Cahill.
Yes, I think we should move ahead with the resolution now.
Yes.
What had happened is 2 hate crimes were committed against our institution.
Yes.
This is not, climate change or whatever. And being apolitical means to me that we don't take sides on partisan matters. This is not that kind of issue. We should move ahead. And I personally approve what the administration included in the background briefing on the resolution, which is, my own suggestion would be to fly Black Lives Matter through the remainder of the Black Lives Month, Black History Month. So I want to move ahead, and I'll oppose any motion to postpone.
Thank you, Commissioner Cahill. Commissioner Ringbarth.
Yes, first of all, I wanted to thank everybody who did respond so quickly and in such a supportive manner to the incident when it occurred. I appreciated it, and the library staff in Sebastopol appreciated it as well. So thank you all. I'm wondering, given Barbara's question on this, or the issue that she raised, whether severing the preliminary and just taking a vote on the resolution itself might be more, might allow us to move along in a better manner, and also
We are only voting on the resolution. That's
Okay.
what we're voting on, just the resolution.
All right, well then that's good. And then my only other comment then with that would be that in regards to the questions about policy and stuff, I think those are good issues that you raised, Deborah. And I would suggest that we perhaps have legal counsel take a look at some of the implementation steps and our existing policies to decide whether or not, or to advise us whether or not we have the policies that are necessary to be in place to do some of those implementation guidelines without having to worry about there being too many repercussions with that.
Great, thanks very much. Commissioner, I believe Commissioner Schneider had.
Yes, I still stand in favor of voting for this as it stands. And I know we've talked a lot about other things, and at some point, I think if we're investigating some of the other suggestions, we should see what's actually legal in terms of what can be put up in front of buildings, whether or not we lease them. Just a suggestion.
Great, thanks, Commissioner Schneider.
But I
That's
think
actually a
you-
very wise suggestion. And Commissioner Elkind, I think your hand was up.
It was only up because I was confused about whether we were just voting on the resolution.
Just the
or
resolution.
approving the background information. We're just voting on the resolution.
Just the resolution.
I'm
just the
clear on that
resolution.
now. Thank you, Chair Doyle.
And I would also, we haven't heard from Director Hammond, so we sort of launched into the conversation. Are there some things that you would like to share? And just in terms of, I know that the staff has been talking about this a lot since the incidents happened, and I'm sure that that you can shed some additional light on what's been happening.
Yes, thank you, Chair Doyle. So as you know, these acts that have happened recently have been very upsetting to our staff. They are passionate about serving every member of the community and being representative, providing opportunities for all. In the case of the incident at Sebastopol, it was especially heinous because the banner that was torn down and burned was created by the teen group as part of their advocacy in the community. They like to do things that represent issues that are important to them. So this happened to be one of them. As we've spoken before, the issue before you currently is just to approve the resolution. The background information that was included was meant to give a little more light into what we are doing in response. And we've done a lot of, we've implemented programming. We have created a racial equity lens that we're using to examine all of our actions, our hiring practices, our collections, all of that. So we are really committed to helping move forward in this regard. And to the issue of whether this is political or not, I agree with Commissioner Foxen. It's a social issue. It's not necessarily a political issue because it could affect either political party. The important point for me is that libraries are here for all of the community and for all the members of the community. We have been leaders in diversity and equity, inclusion, anti-racism. We're an important part of a free society, and we want that to be recognized. So some of the things that we included in the background information to this resolution talked about flags, banners, different types of programming. We did look at, because some of the staff members were very interested in flying the Black Lives Matter flags, we looked at that, and what we found was that not all of our JPA partners have the same ordinances in regard to flags. Some are very much more restrictive. So in the interests of uniformity and having the same kind of experience at each of our locations, we were leaning more toward the idea of banners that could express the same sentiment, but not be on city-owned flagpole, for example. So that is just by way of background information for you to support this resolution. If you'd like to hear more about specific programs or other activities that we've been implementing, we'd be happy to address that for you as well.
Well, since we've been talking about this for a long time,
Yeah.
I think the commission would appreciate hearing about programming that is addressing that, and whether we can take the time right now to do that, or whether you can come back to us. I think it's also clear that we probably need some policies.
Mhm.
So perhaps staff can come back at a later commission meeting and brag about the diverse programming that you're putting on. But also, I think there, banners. We can't put all banners up, so I think that there does need to be additional conversation about that. And let's see, is there nobody else's hands up? Okay, then I
Oh, we
think,
have Commissioner McKenzie with her hand up.
oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner McKenzie, I didn't see that. Go ahead.
Thanks. I was just issued a new iPad and all the dials are different and behaving differently, so apologies. I just want to clarify something. I'm probably, maybe I'm the only person who feels this way. My concern about the political angle, as I wasn't clear enough about it, I believe that Black Lives Matter is either a political or quasi-political movement. And if this statement were only about a strong statement against injustice and against hatred and violence and all that stuff, I didn't have any problem. But I believe that, again, I don't need to have everybody say I don't agree with you, but I do believe that it brings an element of political or quasi-political politics into this. And so I'm going to abstain from the resolution, and I want to have a further conversation about this, the language and also the implementation plan. But I wanted to clarify that. It's obviously, I abhor violence, any kind of threats to people, any of this stuff. Of course, I hate it like everyone else does, and I condemn it like everyone else does. But it is what I feel is a political aspect that is only going to fan some more flames and get even more complicated. So thank you.
Thanks. And Director Hammond, I think it's important, even though, it's your job to implement things. There's no question about that. But this, because this is, we're voting on the resolution, and so the implementation, I think we're going to be very interested in the programs, the community outreach. I think resolutions are fine and a banner is fine, but if we're not working in the community, then I'm not sure that the work is that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. I mean, I think that, of course. Yeah. Okay. And I see Kathy DeWeese's hand up, and
I just wanted to Deborah, I mean, I could speak a little bit right now about some of the
about program. That would be fabulous.
Or I could wait and report later on results, but just like a minute or two about what we are doing. First of all, I want to a lot of shout outs to the Sebastopol staff, especially Rosalie Abbott. She after this incident happened, she did work with her community partners at West County High School. And the teens created a bunch of more posters, and they replaced the poster on the building, and they have another one ready to go. If that one gets defaced, then they have another one ready to go after that one gets defaced. So they're just understanding that maybe this is an issue and that they're ready to be resilient, and that's coming from the teens. And so I really appreciate that. The other thing I wanted to just share is a system-wide project that we are doing as a response to these events that have happened. And we are calling on teens across the county to make a poster in support of something that they feel strongly about. And we added in things like climate mitigation and LGBTQ advocacy and disability rights and human rights and Black Lives, of course, and the Black Lives Matter, but anti-bullying, anti-racism, neurodiversity, free speech, whatever is their passion. And so we have like a take and make type kit that we are distributing across the county. And we have invited the Sebastopol activist teens to help create the videos that talk through what that could be. And so it's kind of like an event that they are helping to drive. So I'm really excited about that. We have a lot of other stuff going on in support of Black History Month that's supporting or that's sharing information about culture, history, and then really celebrating Black joy in a reader's advisory and reading lists that staff has been developing. And that would have happened anyway. So I think the things that we're really proud of are both the Sebastopol activism and then also our countywide call for teen action. And we're using, I think I did put it in the commission packet, a little blurb about that as well. So I just wanted to share that. 2 minutes. Thanks.
Great, thanks very much. And when you come back to us, I think what we would be interested in is looking at the programming that you started a year and a half ago when we already put on our website. We stand with we don't tolerate that kind of a thing. So I think that this response programming is terrific, but I think we would love to know what you're doing as a general rule and how you're going to respond to the community. And I also, just in terms of the teen posters, it would be interesting. I know you have a teen film festival coming up at the end of the month, which is very exciting. Would it be possible to make a film of all those posters and show? It's a possibility. It's a suggestion. Think about that.
It would have to be made by a teen. So it's because it's a teen film festival, but that's a great suggestion. And we have 4 more days until the deadline for those entries. So maybe we can.
Okay. Thanks very much. I appreciate your leaping in. Okay. It is now 6:46. I see some hands up. Do you really want to say something or can we move along? Commissioner Foxen?
Okay.
Commissioner Foxen, you're on mute. Okay, until
Barbara
you find your mute.
Barbara McKenzie and David Cahill had their hands up first, so I'll wait.
I just had a very quick question to Kathy.
Okay.
The posters, will they be inside or outside the libraries?
We have asked the teens to return them to the libraries and that we would then take pictures of them, display them on social media, and display them wherever they can be found in the libraries, but probably inside.
Okay, so nothing else is going outside the libraries yet.
I can't speak to that. That would be a branch by branch. I can't speak to that.
Okay.
Commissioner Cahill.
Yes, I don't believe that the resolution has been read yet, unless I missed something. I have an obvious suggestion. Commissioner Engbart might be the obvious person to read it.
It's already been read.
Okay, then, and Commissioner Foxen, one last call before we ask Commissioner Engbart to read the resolution.
I was just going to say that it is, as Barbara said, we often end up on the opposite poles or opposite sides of the topic, and it is not political. We try and make it political so we don't have to deal with it. Anyway.
Okay. Commissioner Engbart, would you care to read the resolution?
Sure. Whereas in light of recent events, including the burning of a Black Lives Matter banner at our Sebastopol branch and the spray painting of the N-word near the front door of our Sonoma Valley branch, the Sonoma County Library reiterates its values that we condemn these crimes, that we will not tolerate racist or hateful behavior at any of our facilities, that we are committed to being an anti-racist organization. And whereas the Sonoma County Library stands with Black Lives Matter in our community in calling for peaceful yet powerful action to turn the tide of systemic racism and begin the transition to a just and sustainable society. And whereas the library states to those in our community who have been hurt by racism, bigotry, prejudice, misunderstanding, and hate, we see you, we hear you, we stand with you. And as we look outward to help our community heal, we pledge to continue looking inward and to face unflinchingly the truth in our own system. And whereas it is not enough to eschew racism, we must all be anti-racist. And whereas to achieve the change we wish to see, we must take accountability for the ways we have hurt our community by maintaining the status quo, and we must commit to providing racially equitable service by eliminating practices and procedures that contribute to systemic racism. And whereas the Sonoma County Library represents the communities we serve, and we must continue working towards the creation of the equitable and inclusive library we envisioned in our 2017 Statement of Inclusivity, which reads as follows: public libraries have long been known as one of the truly democratic institutions. Public libraries champion First Amendment rights and promote free access to information for the public, for all, Public libraries offer services and educational resources that promote inclusion and diversity to all of the community. In light of the uncertainty many feel in our current society, diversity to all in the community and, society, and reaffirm Sonoma County Library values diversity, empowerment, community, unity, kindness, connection, and equity. Sonoma County Library provides service to all races, all genders, all sexual orientations, all religions, all abilities, all ages, all national or ethnic origins, all languages, all citizenship statuses, all economic statuses, all political affiliations, all people. Sonoma County Library is an inclusive community hub where people intersect and thrive. Libraries are for everyone. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Sonoma County Library Commission, that the commission hereby express its support for the statements and values in the resolution that signed Deborah Doyle and Ann Hammond.
And Commissioner Engbarth, would you like to move that?
I'll go ahead and move that as long as we're just talking about the resolution. Yes.
We are just talking about the resolution. Okay, David seconded. Then I'm going to take the vote. Commissioner Cahill, you seconded. Commissioner Elkin.
Yes.
Commissioner Engbarth, you moved it. Commissioner Foxen.
Yes.
I don't believe Commissioner Heavenridge is here. Commissioner Hauser.
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie.
I'm abstaining.
Commissioner Parker.
Yes.
Commissioner Schneider.
Yes.
And I vote yes. And so we have one abstention. All right. Thank you, everybody, for a robust conversation. And we look forward to seeing and having additional conversations about how we can help anti-racism and social equity in Sonoma County. Okay, we are moving on to the annual report.
Thank you. And we have for you tonight a summary, high-level look at our annual report for the past year. I will present part of it, and then Deputy Director Thibault and CFO Lopez will help me with parts of it, and Bridget will advance the slides for us.
Super. Thanks very much.
I will get started now. Good evening, Commissioners. This presentation is intended as a tool for you when you report to your appointing bodies on library activities for 2021. An editable PowerPoint version will be sent to you after this meeting, and our communications team is always available to help you customize this presentation for your community. I'll be going through it tonight, as I mentioned, with assistance from Deputy Director Thibault and CFO Lopez. For the library, 2021 had more than its share of challenges and opportunities. In spite of the worldwide pandemic, environmental issues, social, political upheaval, our organization accomplished amazing things for our communities, and we're poised to do even more in 2022. We stayed on our path to gradually reopen while we balanced service with patron and staff safety. We added new digital resources at a record pace, and we continued our transformation into a 21st century library. I'm proud to present this high-level overview of a busy year. Let's start with our Reimagining the Library project. Next slide. There we are. With input from more than 1,000 community stakeholders, we completed and released our Reimagining the Library project. Our turning outward approach allowed us to listen to the people of Sonoma County and understand how their lives have changed, what is important to them, and what kind of community they want to live in. Combined with input from a new facilities master plan and a comprehensive community-led needs assessment in the Roseland area, this will inform every aspect of our services, collections, programs, technology, and facilities. It's time for your library to change. As we state in the report, our message to our community is we hear you, we see you, we understand you. Next slide. After a decade of community advocacy, we were able to open a beautiful new temporary library branch in Roseland. Our temporary library at 470 Sebastopol Road is a state-of-the-art facility. It's clean, safe, technologically advanced, but too small for the community's growing needs. As the branch opened, we were nearing a decision on the location of a permanent regional library, which was announced at year's end. The new branch will be part of a City of Santa Rosa complex on Hearn Avenue and may include a community center, an aquatic center, a community park, a fire station, and a 21st century regional library that will serve all of Southwest Santa Rosa. The community-led needs assessment will begin soon and will help us plan, design, and build a facility that will serve the community for decades. Next slide. The Biblio Bus hit the road in 2021, so much more than a bookmobile. This mobile library van does carry books to be checked out, but Sonoma County residents can also get a library card, connect to free Wi-Fi, use a laptop, take part in a story time or other activity, and talk to library staff about their community and their needs. The Biblio Bus has a busy schedule of public appearances throughout the county with a special focus on underserved communities. The bus was purchased with Measure Y sales tax funds, thanks to the community's investment in public libraries. The historical records and documents, sometimes known as the Sonoma County Archives, were rescued from a fire-prone area at Los Gilicos to a safe, clean, dry storage facility in Santa Rosa. The library is engaged in productive conversations with the County of Sonoma to develop a long-term solution to preserve these historical and business records and maintain access for the public. Next. The ability to visit a library online or in person and borrow anything and everything you need to enhance your life is a core principle of what we do and is our oldest, most consistent, and most popular service. After a strong year in 2019, circulation fell off significantly in early 2020 as the library shut down our branches in response to the pandemic. The pivot to digital began immediately, and digital circulation grew steadily until we began to gradually reopen branches and our patrons had choices between in-person and digital services. The 24/7 virtual library is still well used, and physical circulation is rebounding. We have data on this slide for our major types of circulation. In 2021, we loaned 1,492,842 physical books. There were 1,211,695 e-content checkouts, which includes ebooks, e-audiobooks, digital magazines, streaming movies, TV shows, and music. There were 338,173 searches in the online databases we make available for free to the community. And we loaned 315,861 media items, which includes DVDs, music CDs, playaways, video games, and books on CD. These figures speak for themselves, but our digital circulation is catching up to our physical circulation. It will be interesting to see what happens this year. Next. By the end of 2019, branch libraries had packed schedules of in-person programming, which obviously fell to zero in March of 2020. Our creative staff began offering virtual programming, which was extremely popular. Library programming in 2021 continued to evolve and grow. After the upheaval of 2020, we began 2021 confident in our ability to design and deliver educational, engaging, and inspiring virtual programming that appeals to many users and enriches their lives. As the year ended, we were well along in our planning to offer in-person programming again, which is on hold while the Omicron variant is prevalent. Programming in 2021 included hands-on art and science activities and programs for all ages, teen events that fostered creativity and connection, community and civic engagement through book clubs and discussion groups, increased support for workforce development and education, and connecting readers with books through Readers Advisory Services. Next. Libraries have been evolving for decades, and even in a pandemic, are crucial and necessary community hubs. Our facilities master plan, due later this year, will provide valuable guidance in how to leverage partnerships with the county and our cities and use our sales tax funds to improve our public facilities. In late 2021, we opened a new mobile branch, the Biblio Bus. Next, and I'll turn it over to Erica now.
Good evening, everyone. So our reimagining process for 2021 got off to a good start, laying the groundwork for significant change in 2022 and beyond. Our plan includes 3 major focus areas in the broad categories of providing opportunities, furthering resilience, and fostering equity. Our 2021 accomplishments include appointing teen lab members in multiple communities, increasing the student one-card outreach, focusing on diverse programming in accessible formats, getting the Biblio Bus on the road, completing an external Wi-Fi installation at all branches, launching the facilities master plan and a staffing study, making Spanish interpretation more widely available, encouraging staff to create more Spanish-speaking or Spanish-only programming. And we have also improved our recruitment processes, resulting in 22% of all new hires speaking Spanish. We started a mentoring program for staff attending library school, and we developed our equity lens tool that we use to help us make our decisions large and small. Next slide, please. So our 2022 goals are ambitious, and some of these are tied to much needed additional staff that will be identified with the staffing study, such as a teen services administrator and bilingual outreach staff. These goals include implementing teen councils in all libraries, developing a teen internship program, and adding a supervising librarian to support system-wide teen services, developing programs, partnerships, and services for non-traditional students, students in transitional programs, internships, and more, developing programs for college and career readiness, including information on skilled labor trades and apprenticeships, creating system guidelines to select and feature public art inside and outside our buildings, and partnering with stakeholders serving at-risk populations to support their offerings, and expanding locations for teaching technology. Plus, we're working on making connections with community leaders and using that input to develop partnerships and programs, adding bilingual outreach staff to conduct system-wide outreach with branch staff, adding bilingual staff to the communications division to support bicultural, bilingual programs, services, and initiatives, and developing an Amigos de la Biblioteca and or Promotores group to advise the library, exploring partnerships to bring social workers and other social services on site or sharing space off-site, and participating in other organizations' meetings to better serve our constituents. Lastly, in 2022, we hope to explore how to flexibly staff positions so that an MLS degree is not always required. And we would like to identify race and equity champions on the commission and at all staff levels. Now I will turn it over to CFO Lopez.
Good evening. I will present a few slides on the finances. The commission adopted the fiscal 22 budget, which supports the reimagining plan with a total of $47.2 million. The commission approved the use of fund balance primarily for one-time capital projects. And you can see in the adjusted budget up to $8.8 million. Next slide. What does this all mean in terms of how what our funding sources are. Our funding sources are property tax, measure-wise sales tax, and the fund balance. Next slide. Oh, no, excuse me. Sorry, keep it here. So the property tax use is 49% of our budget, while sales tax is 32%, and the use of fund balance is 19% of our funding sources. Next slide. Here we see our expenditures by major category, and salaries and benefits are 26.8 million, which is 57% of all expenditures. Services and supplies is 13.4 million, which is 28% of our expenditures, while capital is at 6.9 million, which is 15% of total expenditures. This year represented building back after the pandemic that hit in fiscal year 2021. And that's why you see an insignificant increase in expenditures as well as use of fund balance. And I'll turn it back to Anne.
Thank you. Next slide. So we could not serve our community without a constellation of support from our dedicated staff to our supportive library commission, to labs, friends, foundation, all the organizations that partner with us to serve the people of Sonoma County. And of course, our favorite community partners, our patrons. Next. As a key part of our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, we periodically remind our community where we stand and invite feedback on how we can improve. At Sonoma County Library, all are welcome, inclusive of race or ethnicity, gender identity and expression, sexual orientation, country of origin, age, faith, ability, politics, or socioeconomic status. Libraries truly are for everyone. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Chair Doyle,
Is there
we
any,
have-
is there any
Courtney
public
Clegg.
comment? Yes, I was going to ask if there's any public comment.
How long is public comment?
You can have 2 minutes.
Okay, can everybody hear me and see me?
Yes.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Courtney and I am one of the librarians at Sebastopol. And I just wanted to share some experiences so that you can kind of get a taste of what it's like on the ground.
And this is about this agenda item, yes? The annual report?
No, no, not necessarily. So when would be a better time to just speak about things in general?
At the beginning of the meeting.
Yeah. The only thing is that I got off work at like 6. So
all right, then I'm going to use I will use the privilege of the chair, and we're going to call this a public comment because you got off work. Does anybody have any objections to that on the commission? Okay, go. You've got 2 minutes.
Okay. So obviously I very much support the idea of the resolution and also the idea of hanging banners on the outside of the building at the very least. And the flag would be even better. You know, I know that there's a part of us that's like, maybe we shouldn't push on that nerve and like, you know, the politics thing. But I want us all to look at it a different way, like a lot of things are political, actually. Sending your kid to school is political. Reading certain books is political. Saying that, you know, seniors deserve to be treated with respect in this country and don't deserve to be abused is political. Child abuse is political. The social systems that surround that is political. For some reason, we still think that Black Lives Matter is a political thing. And I get it. There was a time when I internalized that too. And I was, you know, I was always in like a mind thing as well. Like, what about this? What about that? But I think at the end of the day, it is the same exact thing as saying like, hey, I don't believe in like child or elder abuse. I just think it's to that point.
You've got 30 seconds.
That's all I wanted to say about that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Okay, comments on the annual report. Commissioner McKenzie, your hand is up.
It is. I appreciate the annual report. That's a great summation of, you know, all the good deeds of the Sonoma County Library. I was listening to Deputy Director Tabot's list of kind of amazing ideas and things I'd never heard about, and I didn't see them reflected on the slide. And wondered if when a presentation is put together for us, some of those things could be included, and if we can just get, you know, see a written list of those. I heard things like mentoring staff for library school and, you know, some other great stuff. So anyway, I just I was thinking that most things were going to be there in front of us, and I was hearing things that we couldn't see. So I appreciate you know,
a script. I assume there's a script that goes with it.
There is, and thank you
There we go.
for mentioning that. We didn't
Yes.
want the slides to be too cluttered, but we will certainly give you more information in the written form.
A script is always good. Other commission comments? It really was very interesting. I think that we would be delighted to see such a script and to talk to and to bring it forward to our partners. I was interested to hear though. Are you talking about a teen council for every library?
Yes, so that's one of our goals, that each branch would have its own teen council. And it's totally doable. You know, with our present staffing, it would be more difficult, which is why, you know, some of our goals are tied to new staff, including a teen services administrator who would kind of, you know, corral everyone and you know, help implement that.
I am totally not laughing at that idea. I'm just thinking some of the labs have experienced new life because they have teen members, because they have new team members, and so it really is giving those organizations a charge. I think as you move forward, we all need to think about what groups, how we look at the groups that are already in existence, and how we can kind of either rethink them, restructure them, or recommend to our partners moving forward that perhaps we need different kinds of advisory groups. And certainly, you know, certainly the teens in the neighborhood are going to have lots of great ideas.
Well, another group that we're hoping to build is Amigos de la Biblioteca. So a Spanish-speaking friends group that could be system-wide to help advise the library on services to the Spanish-speaking community.
That's great. We will all probably need a lesson in how to give this presentation. So this is not the last time that you all will give it. Okay. I don't believe we have to approve it. We just have to thank you for the annual report. I don't see anybody from the labs or the foundation or the friends.
It looks like Sarah Ortiz is with us. Would you like to say something?
Oh, I'm
Sarah?
sorry.
I apologize. My video was off. I was trying to If I may have just a couple of minutes of your time.
Sure.
All right, thank you for having me once again. I know you guys have a long meeting and I appreciate the time. I'm just going to share my screen really quick, a very short presentation. I know you're probably tired of hearing me say it now, but since it seems like sometimes there's one or two new commissioners or members of the public, I'll say it again. I'm Sarah Ortiz. I'm the president of the Sonoma County Public Library Foundation, and we exist to provide funding to ensure equitable access to Sonoma County Library services. And you have an upcoming item in your agenda from Craig Palmer to discuss fundraising in the 21st century. And I wanted to talk about the Roseland campaign. I know so many of you are passionate about the Roseland Library, and I could not be happier about the news that the library will be joining in the Hearn development, and that there will be a new modern library for the people of Southwest Santa Rosa. And I wanted to talk a little bit about it. We are working very closely with the library, and we are going to help fundraise for those needs. So that has started with one-on-one meetings with all the board members between Craig Palmer, myself, and Ann Hammond. And I just want to say the full support of the foundation. We are super excited to be moving forward, and I know you guys are too. And so we all have the same goal in mind. We're all full steam ahead, and we're really, really excited to be a part of this process. Moving forward, there's a lot to be done. I know the foundation has operated at a current level and we need to get a lot higher. So I know that there's a lot to be done. We are not kidding ourselves on that, but I think this process will not only help us get a permanent library in Roseland, but will lead the foundation to ultimately regularly raising larger funds, which will help the library in future capital campaigns, future capital needs, things like that. And so some of the things that we're doing, we're going to be creating a nominating committee. I know I talk about this almost every time I'm here, but we're going to need not only new board members, but we're going to be looking at who can we connect with the community who maybe they don't want to be a permanent board member, but they're interested in just the Roseland campaign, or they can connect us to other board members, or they can connect us to groups. So we're really excited making a list and thinking about who should be on this, who should be on the board, and who should we talk to about the Roseland campaign. I, of course, welcome any thoughts from all of you. I know you guys are all ambassadors to the community for the library, and I would love to hear your thoughts. So please feel free to reach out. I'd love to talk to you. We're looking deeper at our current donors and seeing we have this committed group of donors that consistently give us money, and we want to appreciate them and kind of understand where they're coming from, why they give, how we can maximize that to tell their stories and encourage other people to give. We're looking at our investment policy, which actually we don't currently have an investment policy. I was listening to you guys discuss sign policies, and we are discussing as a foundation all these different things, right, about the policies we need in place. If we're going to be accepting large donations, we need to have a rock solid investment policy so that we can tell donors exactly how their money is going to be handled, and financially what's going to happen with it, so that we can be good stewards of that money. And so we are creating an investment policy, but we will be discussing with an attorney as well, and hopefully a financial advisor to just really button that up. Updating our bylaws. I feel like this is something we have been talking about for several months, but just going through our current bylaws and updating as needed, that will be happening as well, kind of building the foundation for the foundation. And so that's what we are doing right now. But I just wanted to say I'm really excited about Craig's upcoming presentation, and very excited about Roseland, and we are fully on board. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Any public comment? Any commissioner comments?
Chair
I think there's a
Doyle?
group. Thank you. Yes.
We do have Craig Palmer with his hand up.
Oh, Mr. Palmer.
Thank you all. I just can't let this moment go by, Sarah, without telling you how thrilling it's been the last couple of months for Ann and I to be meeting with you and meeting with board members and talking in concrete, candid, constructive terms about how we need to sort of prepare ourselves for the wonderful opportunities ahead. And I have to say, it's been very exhilarating and just builds excitement about the campaign's potential success. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I wanted to say, I know, oh, thank you. I know I've talked to different commissioners at different times, so I may have discussed different things with different people, but I just wanted to say, I think personally that this upcoming Roseland campaign is super exciting and gives us real purpose. As a foundation, we've been talking for a little while, you know, does the library need us? Does the library want our assistance? Does the library need fundraising? And what can we get people excited about? And this is such an exciting project. And I know there's going to be future projects. So I'm not saying Roseland and done, because I mean, there's an endless list, I know, but this feels concrete moving forward and something to really get donors and future board members excited about, and our current board members. So thank you, Craig, for kind of igniting that fire.
Well, we appreciate your commitment. We really do. It's going to be quite a ride the next couple of years, but we look forward to it. All right, then. We are going to thank you, and then we're going to move on to library reports. Oh, I'm sorry. I should have asked any public comment on the. No, I did already. I already asked. Sorry. I already asked that. Moving on to library reports. Anne, do you have any additional information that you'd like to add to the library reports?
No, there's a pretty comprehensive report in the packet, and in the interest of time, I'll let that stand unless you have questions.
Any questions from the commission on the library reports? I'm not seeing a hand go up. My only comment was, I know that some of the staff attended LibLearnX, which is the midwinter conference of the American Library Association, although they're not calling it anymore that. And it would be wonderful to hear from the staff what they brought home from a conference, and you know, certainly the Public Library Association conference is coming up, and I'm sure that I'm attending in person, and I'm sure that some of the staff is attending. So it would be great for the commission to hear what interesting things are going on out there that we're bringing back to Sonoma County. I see Commissioner Schneider's hand up.
Thank you. Yes, I was just looking for the director's report on this PDF, but I just wanted to ask, I know that that COVID, which is now, 2 years of this, have thrown off a lot of our key indicators and so forth. And I wonder if it would be possible in a future report, maybe not every month, but every once in a while to add in a kind of a pre-COVID indicator, particularly for maybe digital circulation went up and print went down. So I would love to have that, because we're in a funny, in terms of comps, we're in a funny period right now.
Yeah, that's a good point. We'll include that, maybe not every month, but every once in a while.
That's great. And we'd also, thanks, Commissioner Schneider. And we'd also like to thank Mr. Hawley for all of the wonderful publicity that we're getting. We really appreciate that. It's a joy to read through that. Seeing no other comments, we will then move on to the budget and finance reports. Commissioner Elkind and Ms. Lopez, is there anything that you would like to, there we are.
Okay.
I don't think this is me, Chair Doyle. I think this is our CFO, Myrna Lopez.
It is indeed, but there's always a hand there.
Well, I'll just say that, as you know, I'm very excited to have our new CFO, Myrna, on board. Every day I'm happy about that. And between Myrna and the library team and the great support that they've been getting from Randy Seipel and his team. I have been feeling, I've been sleeping better at night and feeling very comfortable about the state of the library's finances. So without further ado, I'll let Myrna give us the mid-year update.
Good intro. Excellent.
Okay, thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here. I'm very happy and delighted to support the Sonoma County Library and be part of your team. Today I'm presenting the fiscal year 21-22 mid-year financial report as of 12/31/21, which is our mid-year point for this fiscal year. I do want to acknowledge the work that has been dedicated to this and up to date through the county accounting services led by Randy Seipel, and the partnership with the finance committee under the chairmanship of Andy Elkin, and of course the commission as a whole. We've been able to come to this point, and I'm happy to present this mid-year review. Next slide. The Sonoma County Library completed the Reimagining plan last year, and this strategic plan sets the priorities for the budget. As such, the county library's budget aligns its vision and goals in the Reimagining plan. The Reimagining plan has 3 priority concepts that give the library purpose and a pathway to build a stronger community, listed here on this slide. Next slide. A mid-year review has 3 components to visit the financial status of the Sonoma County Library and make any needed adjustments. First, year-end projections. How will the library end with revenue and expenditures at year-end June 30th, 2022? Second, it is a financial health check. Are we on track with revenues and expenditures, cash balance, and fund balance? And thirdly, a look ahead. How do we stay on track for a strong financial position going into fiscal year 2023 and advancing the Reimagining plan? Next slide. The library has a strong financial position to advance the Reimagining plan. I would like to highlight the following. The Finance Committee and Commission, as you know, has seen monthly financial reports. And this December schedules that are attached to this report is one of those monthly reports, but we're taking a pause to take a look at the mid-year. And these reports to date have been very consistent, and staff has come to the commission when a budget adjustment or an anomaly has been discovered, especially over the last few months. These reports going forward, my expectation is that they'll remain the same. They should remain the same, consistent, and provide information that we can expect, such as the holiday sales receipts that are normally come in are posted in February, and our April property tax receipts. This strong financial position is a result of the following. You have resilient revenue receipts, you have strong cash and fund balances, you have financial discipline, you have controls and policies in place to guide your fiscal decisions, and you have a fully funded stabilization fund. Next slide. This slide shows your budget over the last 5 years. And as you can see, it has increased since the inception of Measure Y, a total of $6 million over the last 5 years, which is about a 19% increase in actuals. It is reasonable that we can expect this type of moderate increase in the future, barring any external factors that can impact revenues, such as local, state, and national economic conditions, tragedies such as fire and other natural disasters, and of course, the last has been the pandemic. Barring any of these issues in the short term, we have a healthy outlook in terms of revenues. Next slide. This slide shows projections, projecting how we're going to end the fiscal year. And the library is on track to be within its approved budget for 2022. The commission approved a major budget adjustment in October that was primarily to fund capital projects that rolled over into this from last year to this fiscal year. And it increased expenditures and the use of fund balance. In terms of revenue and property tax, it is projected to remain flat, meaning that the commission adopted revenue at 22.6 million, and we expect to meet that target. This was subsequent discussions with the county auditor's office, who oversees the property tax, and also just even when we mark the December receipts, that came in a little higher than last year at the same time. The auditor and the library strongly agree that we should remain within the original budgeted amounts. The next major revenue source is the sales tax, and sales tax has increased its receipts very slightly every month. This revenue comes in on a monthly basis, although there is a 2-month lag. So for example, the January receipts are 2 months prior from November. So when you see the posting in February, that will actually be the activity in December. In terms of expenditures, we are slightly below budget, and that is because benefits are budgeted at the high end to ensure that benefits are fully covered. We estimated at the beginning, when the budget was adopted, that we would be fully staffed. And benefits are on track with just a modest savings, however. Under services and supplies, we've spent nearly 97% of our, we will spend up to 97% of our budget as I project, because there have been still slowdown in travel and a slight savings in other supplies. Under capital, I also expect some funds to roll over. The capital Petaluma project is scheduled for the spring, and about $2 million worth of project is projected to be completed in the next fiscal year. So we'll roll over those funds. Next slide. This slide shows the cash balance, and that the cash balance really illustrates the nature of our revenue. The gray line shows our restricted cash, which is donations and bequests that are flat. And the red line represents sales tax. So we see that on a month-to-month basis, there's a slight increase in sales tax. And the blue line is the most dynamic, because we have two major receipts that come in December and in April. So this spike that you see here is from the December receipt that we received $13 million. So the reason why you see this is that every month we're spending down for the operations of the library, and come November, that's when it hits the lowest point. And then we're recovering again our cash balance in December with that first installment of property taxes. Okay, next slide. This is illustrates the use of fund balance. As you can see, this is over the first full year of Measure Y was fiscal year 17-18. And so of course you would expect a fund balance a little lower since we're starting. And then fund balance peaked in FY 2021. And that was a result to the decrease of expenditures or activity during the pandemic, which was also discussed in the annual report. But since then, the current fiscal year, it's been building back of the library from the last fiscal year. And so the commission approved the use of fund balance for mainly capital projects. And at the beginning of the year also approved 3.75 FTE and some other resources, which was covered by the fund balance. Next slide. This slide shows the detail of the fund balance year by year in terms of figures and numbers. Next slide. So to recap, we are on track with our projections to end the year within our approved budget by June 30th, 2022. And the library is also on track with its fiscal health check with a healthy cash balance and a healthy fund balance. Next slide. So looking ahead, the Sonoma County Library has a strong financial position. It is completed and is up to date with its audited financial statements. And the priorities for me this fiscal year are to implement a capital asset maintenance fund and update the capital improvement fund, review internal controls, including the commission consideration of a new allocation of major revenue sources, also known as the allocation for Measure Y. Also to update the policies and procedures, such as purchasing, cash, and travel policies. And finally, but not least, is ongoing training for finance staff. The foundation has a strong foundation for developing next year's budget to support the Reimagining plan and the commission's vision. Are there any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Gomez?
Not a question, just a comment. Myrna, I'd really like to thank you for this really clear summary. It's there's so many things that are great to see. You know, the fact that our revenues for this year are very close to projections, and our expenses as well. I know that it's taken some time to gear up in terms of our spending, and that in the early years after Measure Y was passed, we We face some challenges in hiring. I'm glad to see that we've been able to bring more people on board, and with the planning that we've done for capital projects, those fund balances are now starting to decline appropriately. I know we'll be talking about this later in the meeting, but the fact that we're up to date on the audited financial statements. So all in all, this seems like a very good message to me, and I'd like to thank you and your team.
Thanks. I should have asked for public comment before I opened it to commission comments. Any public comments on and then I'll get you, Commissioner Engbar.
I just wanted to,
no public comments. Okay, go for it.
I just wanted to support Andy in his statement. I think things, just from my involvement, as long as it's been, have really greatly improved with Myrna being on the team. So I'd like to thank her. I just had one question, and again, it may be something that we already have that I just don't know yet about, is do we have a capital improvement plan in place?
So we will have a formal capital improvement program. The upcoming master facilities plan will inform that program. So we're anticipating pins and needles, waiting to see the master facility plan so that we can fully implement the fund balance policy that allows for a reserve for a capital improvement program.
Okay, great, thanks.
Any other comments? Remind me, I should know this, but we haven't accepted the audits, have we?
That's next on the agenda. It'll be, you have it on your agenda later.
Later in tonight's meeting.
So sorry. How did I miss that? Okay. It's been a long meeting already.
Oh, you saw it at the finance committee.
I did. That's why I couldn't remember seeing a line item here. Okay, thanks. Previews of future items. Okay, then we will, if we have no other comments, then we will move to commission and liaison reports. Does anybody have anything to add to their commissioner report?
Deborah?
Yeah.
This is Reese. I just want to reiterate what I said in my commissioner report. And thank you all for the privilege of having had these last few years of working with you. And I really do appreciate it. It's been very important to me. Thank you.
And we appreciate your dedication. Which reminds me, I meant to say this as we were giving you kudos earlier, and we got so excited that it went out of my head. We in fact, because we're going to have two openings. The notion of recruiting for commissioners is certainly something that is on the minds of probably most of us, especially as we look forward to the end of this fiscal year, when a number of commission terms are going to be expiring. So it behooves us, I think, to make sure that our partners know that we are committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and that we also want them to start thinking about who they might appoint to the library commission. And of course we can have suggestions, but it would also be wonderful if we knew who on this commission, which commissioners whose terms are expiring at the end of this fiscal year, if you intend to ask to be reappointed or want to be reappointed, or if your position is going to be vacant. And so if you could let me know by the end of the week whether you want to stay on the commission that would be appreciated, because then we can formulate a letter that goes out to our partners and say, just in terms of what we're looking for. And if I don't hear from you by the end of the week, then Commissioner Hauser may be calling you. So, because we want to make sure that that the openings that we have on the commission get filled with folks who can really move us forward, and we want to do Commissioner Foxen proud. Let's see, there's no change in the chair report. Committee and liaison reports. Commissioner Elkin, anything that you'd like to add to your report?
Just something very, very brief, Chair Doyle. As we mentioned a moment ago, the Finance Committee did have a chance to review the preliminary draft of the audited financial reports from Pacenti and Brinker that we'll be looking at a little later in this meeting. And I wanted to thank the committee. I know a number of you who are on the commission have listened in on our meetings, but for anybody who hasn't, we're really fortunate, in addition to Chair Doyle and Vice Chair Thomas Hauser, Commissioner Barbara McKenzie and Commissioner Dave Cahill have just been fantastic. And the attention to detail and the scrutiny that they bring to something like the audited financial reports, it continues to impress me. And Barbara in particular, thank you for your comments and upgrades, which were very, very helpful. So I know we're going to get into it. I don't want to say any more about it, but just that I want the full commission to know that the drafts were reviewed very thoroughly by the Finance Committee, and I'm very, very happy that we're hopefully going to be approving them later in this meeting. Thank you.
Great. There are no changes to the Historic Records Commission report. And Commissioner Hauser, any additions to the Bylaws Committee report?
No.
Okay. Thanks. Any public comment on the committee and liaison reports, on the commission reports? Any other commissioner comments? Okay, let's move to the consent calendar. These matters include routine financial and administrative actions that may be approved by a consensus. Any commissioner member or a member of the public may request that an item be removed from the calendar and have it placed with the action items. The commission will approve the minutes of the prior meetings, excuse me, in summary format. Does anybody have objections to any of the items that are on the consent calendar?
I'll move approval of the consent calendar, which consists of the minutes for the January meeting and the revised Library Commission calendar for the rest of the fiscal year.
Second. Fabulous. All right. Any comments? All right, I'll take the vote. Commissioner Cahill. Commissioner Cahill?
Yes.
Commissioner Elkin?
Yes.
Okay, we've got a yes from Commissioner Engbarth. Commissioner Foxen?
Yes.
Commissioner Hauser, we've got a yes from you. Commissioner McKenzie?
Yes.
Commissioner Parker?
Yes.
Commissioner Schneider?
Yes.
And I'll make you unanimous. Wonderful. Okay, on to the action items. The action items by motion. We've got a recommendation to add 1 FTE for information technology and 2.25 FTEs for literacy. Does someone want to move to approve?
I so move.
I'll second.
Any comments?
How about
Ms.
a
Silva,
report?
do you want to add any comments to the, or are we going as is?
Do you need me to
It
make
seems
any-
pretty explanatory, self-explanatory.
Yes, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, that's good. All right. Let's see. Any public comments? Any commission comments? Okay, I'll take a vote. Commissioner Cahill,
Yes.
Commissioner Elkin,
Yes.
Commissioner Engbarth,
Yes.
Commissioner Foxen,
Yes.
Commissioner Hauser,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Commissioner Parker,
Yes.
Commissioner Schneider.
Yes.
Okay, and I'll vote yes, it's unanimous. May I have a motion to revise the salary schedule for SEIU represented employees?
I so move.
Second.
Okay, any public comment? Any commission comment? Seeing none, I'll take the vote. Commissioner Cahill,
Yes.
Commissioner Elkin,
Yes.
Commissioner Engbarth,
Yes.
Commissioner Foxen,
Yes.
Commissioner Hauser, you moved. Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Commissioner Parker,
Yes.
Commissioner Schneider.
Yes.
Okay, I'll make it unanimous. And let's see, may I have a motion for the revised policy for photography and filming?
I move.
so
to
move.
accept it.
All right, Rachel moved and Tom seconded. Is there any public comment? Any commission comment? Is there anything we need to know from staff? Commissioner Engbarth, you've got
Yes,
your hand up.
I'm wondering, in the drafting of this, whether or not there was any discussion about how to handle what's being called in other places First Amendment audits. People from the community coming in and videotaping patrons and their use of the facilities.
There.
We have
Yeah.
had such things happen here, and I would like to ask either Deputy Director Thibault or Communications Manager Holly to weigh in on that. They would have more firsthand knowledge.
I can speak to this. So our policy is that, as long as they don't interfere with our employees and their ability to do their jobs, and they don't harass or intimidate other library patrons, they are perfectly allowed to, videotape anybody who's in public areas of our buildings. They are not allowed to enter non-public areas such as our workrooms and other private spaces, just those public areas. We've had some discussion with staff about this, but we haven't had any incidents at this point. But we would treat any First Amendment auditor respectfully, as long as they are following our rules of conduct and not interfering with our ability to do our work. Ray, do you have anything you want to add?
I think you covered it.
Okay.
Some libraries are very sensitive to people filming the children.
We discussed that at length. We have signs that are posted in the libraries at activities that explain that people who are in the libraries are subject to being photographed or filmed. It is a public place, and so there's a First Amendment issue there. We also encourage people to let us know if there's an issue, and library staff always complies with anyone's request to make sure that their child or an adult is not filmed if they don't want to be.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other questions? All right, then we'll take the vote. Commissioner Cahill,
Yes.
Commissioner Elkin,
Yes.
Commissioner Engbarth,
Yes.
Commissioner Foxen,
Yes.
Commissioner Hauser,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Commissioner Parker,
Yes.
Commissioner Schneider.
Yes.
Okay, I'll make it unanimous. And there's the audit. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
A second.
Wonderful. Any public questions, public comments? I don't see any commission comments, statements. Other than, this is wonderful. We're so delighted that this is happening.
I'd like to make one point. This is a 2-year audit. We are now caught up, we're current, and I'm very, very happy.
I think we all are. Well, I don't see any, we can wildly celebrate later, but I will call the vote. Commissioner Cahill,
Yes.
Commissioner Elkin, Commissioner Elkin.
Sorry, couldn't get off mute. Yes.
Commissioner Engbarth,
Yes.
Commissioner Foxen,
Yes.
Commissioner Hauser,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Commissioner Parker,
Yes.
Commissioner Schneider,
Yes.
and I'll make it unanimous. Wonderful. Now we're moving into a discussion. We're going to talk about, we're going to invite Mr. Palmer back. Most of you have probably had conversations with Mr. Palmer about the role of fundraising in the new age of the 21st century library. We welcome you, Mr. Palmer.
Well, the first thing I want to do is say, oh my gosh, thanks very much for, especially on a night like tonight, putting this on the agenda to consider. So thank you for that. Let me sort of make this short and sweet and get out of the way because it's supposed to be a discussion of commissioners, but I've had the pleasure of being here just a little over 2 months. And in the course of that time, sort of put myself on a little listening tour and have now had a chance to talk to some 30 some odd people, commissioners, foundation members, friends, presidents, managers, donors. And the purpose of that is severalfold. One of them is my own learning curve. But one of them is we're about to embark on a campaign that's going to need to engage at least 1,000 people. Those 1,000 people are going to be as diverse and different as we could possibly hope for. And they're all going to have ideas and perceptions and ideas that we need to be ready for. So as I get a chance to sort of shuttle around, what I'm hearing is some of the things that I know we'll be hearing. For those things, we need to have nice, substantive, thoughtful, good responses. So in terms of my learning curve, I realized that there was a time when the library was poor. Then along came Measure Y, and suddenly the library could really start to provide good services. That got us in touch with the community, and we began to realize, oh my gosh, maybe the service need is bigger than we thought. At the same time that this was going on, communities that had sort of disposable pots of money here and there, those started to dry up. And now here we come along to what we're sort of framing as the era of the 21st century library, and the expenses are just growing. So we went from poor to Measure Y to now we need additional funding, not instead of funding, but additional funding to augment what's going on with the Measure Y as well. One of the questions that I've heard as I've sort of shuttled around is and these questions, by the way, what I love about all these questions is everybody sort of is, first of all, excited about the campaign. They want to get involved. They want to participate. And we just haven't talked about this in a concrete way that you talk about campaigns like this. So they just have questions. And one of them is, why are we fundraising for all this? Isn't there been a time when we did something another way, or we did something this way? Why are we fundraising in the age of the 21st century library? I myself think that in the evolution of this, which is what we put in the position piece and put in the packet, the times have now changed that we need this additional stream of funding, not only to help us finish the Roseland project, but do other projects in the system and provide other services as well. So that's why I just was thinking, you know what, this question needs some time from the commissioners to see what they all think so we can get a good answer and move forward. So let me get out of the way and hear what folks have to say, but that was why I appreciated having this on the agenda.
Thanks very much, Craig. Much appreciated. And thank you for moving us forward. I think that you have galvanized some of the thinking that has been percolating along. And I know, but I'd like to ask Commissioner Elkin, since he's the finance chair, and that's where the money is. I'd like to ask Commissioner Elkin, what do you think about the role of fundraising in the age of the 21st century library?
Well, appreciate the chance to just say a word about this. And it was great to have this conversation with Craig, and it really, I'll say, compelled some thinking on my part. But I think Craig did a good job of capturing this in the written document. But I'll just say a few things about it, if I may. I'm going to start up my camera here. You know, when we look at the three big buckets of how does the library allocate revenues, what do we spend on? It's people, resources, and places, right? And any of those that we look at from the perspective of the 21st century library shows that there are significant challenges and opportunities. In terms of resources, for example, Anne mentioned this in the annual report, but you know, we've gone from a library not that many years ago that was mostly just books and periodicals to a whole host of various materials in different media that people want to borrow, to use, to educate themselves, to entertain themselves, to explore new possibilities for businesses. And the wealth of materials that's available and that's needed is significant. At the same time, we're serving a community that's increasingly diverse in every dimension that you can think of. And whereas not that many years ago, people would embark on one career and stay with it for a lifetime, now people go through multiple careers, which means there's a need for lifelong learning and continual education. At the same time, we have new members of our community who need basic literacy skills. We have a younger population that needs early childhood education. Our school-age kids need to be prepared to compete in the 21st century with better skills. So we have a more diverse audience with more needs. And in terms of places, you look at Sonoma County, we're 1,700 square miles. We're an enormous area with people who are scattered. And I'm very curious to see what we're going to find with the facilities master plan. But even with what we've seen so far, the Biblio Bus is tremendously popular and is just the first of what I hope will be many more creative ways to reach out to people who are scattered across our, very expansive county. So really clear that in order to meet the challenges and opportunities ahead, we need to build on the foundation that we have. And the revenue from Measure Y has been great, but Craig has really, I'd say, opened my eyes to the possibility that we could be doing so much more. And I'm very excited about what additional revenue could mean for the Sonoma County Library. So I've talked a lot, I'll stop, but I'm just very, very excited by this initiative.
Thanks very much. Commissioner Engbarth, you had your hand up.
Yes, I just want to underscore a couple things. What Andy mentioned is, Craig's presentation and that he's given us today is a good one. But I agree with him that, this is the end of close to the end of a long agenda. And this is something that's important enough that I think we need to spend more time on than just having a general discussion at the end of the agenda. I think that also that individual discussions with each of the commissioners is of value, but it's not the same as having a commission meeting and discussing this among ourselves with Craig's involvement in terms of what kinds of policies we might need, what kind of a plan that we're making, how we're going to, handle the relationships between our partners, the members of the JPA and the like, which I think will take more time than what we have now. And so I agree with him as far as recommended action. I think that we do need to think about what steps are next. And I think we do. This is an important enough project that I think we do need to spend more time than just at the end of the agenda. on it.
Well, thank you. Commissioner Schneider.
Thanks. Yeah, I just want to say it was very exciting document from Mr. Palmer. I really liked that. I think, and I really appreciate Commissioner Elkins pointing out, you know, the buckets where we fund, and if we really want to be excellent, if we believe every community deserves a really excellent 21st century library, then we have to fundraise. And I think the case is laid out very clearly for that. We have brought ourselves out of penury with Measure Y, but we have not been able to have the sorts of funds to really turn our facilities into really 21st century libraries the way we'd like to see them. We've kind of renovated with the funds we had and missed a lot of opportunities. In fact, I would say we don't actually renovate, we refresh. If we really want to renovate, then that's a whole new path that is going to need the sort of contributed revenue that Craig is talking about. So kudos on this report. Very exciting, absolutely necessary. You can't get there without the types of funds that fundraising can bring us. Thanks.
Thanks very much. I believe we have our auditor's hand is up.
Yeah, I apologize, Deborah, for kind of changing the subjects here. It was my understanding that I was going to be presenting tonight, and that typically takes place prior to the approval of the financial statements. And I didn't see any other agenda item for my presentation. So if my presentation wasn't needed by the commission, I was going to ask to excuse myself.
Oh, golly, I'm so sorry. I think we probably have to back up then and make space for your presentation. I am so sorry. Sorry.
That's okay. I would like to apologize if I'm not looking directly at my screen, and you might be able to see on my screen a flickering blue light. My computer is on the fritz and is flickering violently at me, and it's really distracting. So I apologize if that's hard to watch.
And I'm assuming that everyone wants to see the audit, the presentation on the audit, and my apologies for just sliding right over it. There you go.
Okay, I will try to keep this brief since you've already approved the audit. But again, my name is Kellen Gilbert. I'm the audit partner on the audit for Pisidian Brinker. The rest of the audit team is as listed here. Brett Bradford is the independent report reviewer. Alyssa Foster was the senior, and Gina was the associate. I apologize for the Finance Committee having to listen to me speak twice, as this is a similar presentation. And like I said, I will try and go quickly given the time. I'd just like to reiterate that management is responsible for the financial statements and the internal controls. That means they're responsible for all the information within the financial statements, making sure that it's accurate and that there are a system of internal controls to maintain the accurate information. As the auditor, really our main purpose is to provide an opinion on whether or not the financial statements are materially accurate. And we do that using what we call a risk-based approach, which means that we consider a number of different factors in determining what procedures to perform to form the basis for our opinion. And so we consider both inherent risks and control risks, and then come up with an audit plan, which includes test of year-end balances and evaluating disclosures and reviewing the financial statements. Different things that we consider: the internal controls, internal factors such as the expertise of staff turnover. It's been a bit of a change with Ken leaving a few years back, so that's definitely affected our risk assessment for the library. We also look at the complexity of the related accounts. So balances that are easy to audit, we spend less time than transactions that would be more inherently challenging. We look at external factors, obviously COVID, the Measure Y sales tax, how that might be affected. We take all those things into consideration when we're designing our audit plan. Just a few financial highlights, and I wish I had the picture that Myrna had of the piggy bank being with the stethoscope. I thought that was really cute. But basically, to reiterate her points, that you guys are in the healthiest financial position that you have been since I've been part of the audit team, as indicated by the fact that your assets and deferred outflows exceeded your liabilities and deferred inflows by 14 million at June 30, 2020, and 23 million at June 30, 2021. Over the 2 years presented, the Measure Y fund assets alone increased by 7 million, and your net position has increased from June 30, 2018 to 21 by 22 million. This is just a rough breakdown of where we spend our time during the audit. Cash investments, revenue recognition. For especially with the 2 years being presented, we spent a lot of time on the financial statements, making sure that everything that was required to be presented was presented and was presented accurately and without bias. We spent a lot of time looking at the pension and OPEB disclosures because they're inherently complex. And we spent a lot of time on the Measure Y compliance. And just a brief rundown of some of the procedures that we do. This is not all inclusive, but just to kind of give you an idea of some of the things that we do. We send confirmations to third parties for cash balances and property tax revenues. We recompute year-end reconciliations of the Measure Y revenues and receivables. We do disbursement testing to ensure completeness and cutoff of payables. We reconcile and test the details of the capital asset roll forward to verify the existence of additions. We review and evaluate as I mentioned earlier, the disclosures related to the OPEB balances and the pension calculations. And we test Measure Y for compliance. Part of our Measure Y compliance testing, we look to make sure that expenditures made under the Measure Y fund are in compliance with the ballot measure and the Restoration and Enhancement Act ordinance that was approved by the Commission at the passage of the Measure Y, at the creation of the Measure Y fund after the passage of the Measure Y ballot. We do not evaluate the effectiveness or the accomplishments of the Measure Y program. We're simply looking to make sure that the expenditures meet the requirements for compliance thresholds. We specifically look for whether or not the expenditures are allowable and classified correctly and that they are in the correct period. And we test those expenditures for allowability against Section C and D of the expenditure plan, which it includes quite an extensive list of what is allowable. And I've bullet pointed just a few of these: maintaining existing libraries, improving services, upgrading library facilities, and supporting library programs. So our 2021 and 2020 audit, we did not identify any non-compliance for Measure Y, and we have issued a unqualified opinion, which states that, excuse me, that the financial statements are free of material misstatement and are presented accurately in all material respects. We did not encounter any fraud, illegal acts, or significant or unusual transactions during the audits. And I always like to point out that if we had, we would have notified the Commission or the Finance Committee prior to this meeting. We did not identify any material weaknesses in internal controls. We did not discuss any alternative treatments, and there were no disagreements with management over the scope of the audit. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer those. I apologize if I was going a little bit fast, but I know that you've already approved the audit, so I just wanted to see if there's anything else that I could ask. And again, I apologize for my screen. It's completely unprofessional, and sorry about that.
We like the media show. That's fine. That's fine. And thank you very much. We truly appreciate it. I think we're all excited that these audits are done, and those of us who are on the finance committee were thrilled. And I think I just sort of marched through with that memory in my head. So I apologize to you for not making sure that you spoke earlier. Really terrific. And also, I think it's a terrific reminder that you monitor the compliance with Measure Y. That's a very important thing for us to remember, and also for those of us who are interested in the Measure Y expenditures as well. Now I see hands, and I think that some hands were already up for the next agenda item. So I am going to look for Commissioner Engbarth. I'm going to call on you because you were not on the Finance Committee, and I see other hands from the Finance Committee. So you're going to go last.
Thank you. Just real quick, part of your audit that says the report on internal controls over financial reporting, that section, that it starts off with that. I think it's around page 50. Could you explain what that means?
Yes. So what that means is that there are multiple levels of within the accounting realm. There's multiple levels of control deficiencies, and what that means is that if we identify a lack of internal controls that could possibly lead to a material misstatement within your financial statements, we are required to report on that in that report. So what that report is saying is that we did not identify any internal control deficiencies that would raise to that level, but we also don't test 100% of transactions or processes. So it does say that there could be unidentified control issues, but we did not identify during the audit.
What type of an audit would look into those?
So that's a standard report that's issued for government agencies when you're performing an audit in accordance with the government standards. So that's a pretty standard report that we're required to issue because of the nature of the type of entity that the library is.
Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Cahill.
I'm sorry, you're on mute, sir.
All right. I wanted to go back to the discussion of fundraising.
No, wait. Okay, wait.
Okay, fine.
Commissioner McKenzie, are you talking about the audit or are you talking about fundraising?
Yeah, I was in line for fundraising, but I want to thank Kellen very much for his report and for hanging in here so late. I really appreciate your work on this. Thank you. Good job.
Commissioner Elkins.
I'd just like to echo Barbara's comments. Kellen, really appreciate the work that you and the team at Pacenti and Brinker did. I was very concerned about your ability to get the 2 audits done with the aggressive schedule that you gave us, and you did. And we're very grateful for that and really happy to be back on a current schedule. And I just wanted to thank you and the team for putting in the time that you did, and for making a very clear summary presentation as well.
I appreciate that acknowledgement, and just would say that we couldn't have done that without your team's assistance in getting us the schedules that we requested. Specifically, Randy and his team at the county were invaluable during the audit, so thank you. Super.
Thanks very much. We really appreciate it again. Okay. And watch that blue light.
Sorry, got to get it fixed.
No, it's all right.
Have
it's
a good
okay.
evening.
Okay. And this also is very helpful for the fundraising conversation too. So we're in good shape financially. So go for it, David.
Yes. Craig and I met at my place for, well over an hour. And I was really impressed because he laid out, first of all, a meaningful timetable of what happens when. And instead of just jumping in, he's going to be doing a lot of preparation for our efforts. And then also, I have never raised $1 for any group that I've been involved in. Occasionally, I've been in charge of spending, But he laid out how somebody like me can participate in fundraising, and I thought it was really good, and I look forward to it.
Thank you,
Excellent.
David. It was a fun conversation, so thank you.
Commissioner McKenzie.
Thank you. Yes, I've appreciated the meetings with Mr. Palmer. We've gone through a lot of conversation. I appreciate the summary, and I like it a lot better than the early slideshows, as you probably know. I wanted to make sure as we move forward, I second what Commissioner Ingbarth said, is that this is such an important topic. It's kind of complicated, and there's a lot to it, and we just can't even begin to flesh out very much, right now. But my main thing, because I'm like Miss JPA, right? And we have to keep in mind that we're a slightly unusual library system, and we are set up differently, and we have JPA partners, and we have to do things equitably. The responsibility for Roseland has seeped into our consciousness, like we are responsible for building this building somehow. The historic relationships of the jurisdictions to the library have always been we don't build buildings, we provide library services. And we need to avoid confusion with this large surplus of this very healthy financial position that we're in, with large surpluses from Measure Y, and needing to raise money. And Craig, you and I talked about this before. And that's why, to me, I would emphasize that the fundraising needs to come through the foundation and make it really clear of what we're doing. Because if we do it through and implying that this is Sonoma County Library, it just doesn't make any sense, because we have, surpluses, significant surpluses and growing surpluses, as we know from our audit. So this commission can always decide, let's don't do it the same way we always did it. But historically, the relationship has been jurisdictions, that building is your responsibility. And I see even in the second page of this report, most immediately we see the need for these funds to help our partners, plural, build a Roseland library. Well, there aren't partners involved in the Roseland Library. There's one partner, that's Santa Rosa. When we talked earlier, when Ann was doing her presentation earlier about the new facility that's going to be on Hearn Avenue, that's a civic complex. And so we really have to think about historic, again, the relationships. The cities are responsible for their civic complexes, not the library. And so the need for this, they put aside $10 million, and the assumption is somehow we are involved in raising the other 10. If we want to do that, we have to have a very clear policy change. We have to run it through the joint powers. I mean, it's much more complicated. So my message, at least tonight, just my superficial message, is we have to do everything we can to keep the lanes really straight, who does what and why, and that eventually we will have this facilities master plan. We will have priority setting that impacts all the jurisdictions, and projects for everybody. And I'm excited about whatever a 21st century library is. I'm not clear. I visited a lot of nice libraries that are, nicer than ours. We've also come a long way. In the presentation here, it talks about we can grow and improve. Well, I'd say we can continue to grow and improve. We've done a lot of really good stuff in just the past few years with Measure Y funds, significant improvements. So anyway, I'm excited to see moving forward. I do, again, support the idea of having a workshop and talking about some of the stuff in detail, so we're all really clear about who's doing what and why we're doing it that way. And that's probably the intention anyway. But anyway, I want to just emphasize the need to maintain clarity.
Commissioner Hauser, you had your hand up.
Well, I was going to not say anything, but if you insist.
You had your hand up.
Fundraising as the logical next step that we go on. And we live in a poor county with a lot of poor people. but we have a lot of money here with a lot of really rich people, and we need to tap into that. I know in Sonoma Valley Hospital is a public hospital district, and they tap into the community to raise money to renovate their buildings and so forth. And I just see this as logically what we need to move into and be part of. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner Hauser. You know, most of the buildings in this system are pretty old. And as Tom says, our partners don't really have a whole lot of money. They certainly have some money coming in now from some federal dollars and from some fire dollars, but that's not always going to be the case. And there were different kinds of arrangements that, for example, got the Roanoke Park Library built. That doesn't exist anymore. And so I think that one of our charges, now that we have an adequately funded library, is to look out and see what the people of Sonoma are going to need in the next 5 to 10 years. You know, there are going to be more fires. There's going to be an earthquake. We know there's an earthquake coming. And the cities and towns are not going to immediately say, oh, let's build a library. The library fell down. Let's build a library. We have to be able to make an argument. We have to be able to be a partner, I think. And honestly, I think Commissioner McKenzie, your notion about talking to our partners is a good one, because relationships evolve, and I think it's something that they're all aware of, you know, the needs of this county. And if we're upfront saying this is what we think our patrons need, this is what, and our patrons are all of Sonoma County, I think that they will be more inclined to join in, because we all want, if we can demonstrate that we've thought it through, that we can make some recommendations. I think that's easier than saying, okay, we need a new building. What are you going to do? And the foundation is really stepping up here, and I think that's a wonderful thing. So, having had this discussion, it's certainly not over. This was not the only discussion that we're going to have about this by any stretch of the imagination, because it's going to go on for a long time. So we haven't made any decisions. We're gonna keep talking about it, and we look forward to Craig bringing us details, and we look forward to helping the foundation grow and move forward also. But they're going to need our help too. So. Anybody else? Any additional comments? Mr. Palmer?
I have my favorite comment to make, which is thank you all very much for this. This is an important question, and I'm glad it was on the agenda, and I'm glad we had some time to get into it. This is going to be a very big campaign, and we need to get all these things nailed down and think them through. So this has been really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. And Anne, was there anything that you wanted to add? I know we've sort of been marching through this.
No, not right now. I appreciate the conversation, and we'll be having a lot more discussions like this.
Okay, thanks very much. All right, then we're going to move into closed session. We're going to be having a conference with the labor negotiator pursuant to Government Code 54957.6. And we'll see you on the flip side. Okay, I'm going to give everybody a minute. All right, I'm going to reconvene the open session. There was no action taken in our closed session. I'm reporting that pursuant to Government Code 54957.6. Moving on to item 14, agenda items for future commission meetings. We are probably going to hear from Mr. Palmer next time. Anybody have anything to add to the agenda? And you can certainly call and add things after we adjourn.
Chair Doyle, we do have Commissioner McKenzie.
Commissioner McKenzie.
Thank you. I raised this earlier in the meeting, but I would like us to have a more formal process for, I believe the term is our resolutions. If it's anything other than a thank you or an acknowledgement, to have a process. So in the kinds of more complicated times that, we have an opportunity to discuss as a commission before the resolution is written and signed. So whatever process, whoever does that, whoever's working on protocols, that would be great. I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no other hands. Before I adjourn in Commissioner Mulford's honor, I want to thank again, Commissioner Foxen for all of her hard work and look forward to working with you on other projects related to the library and the community. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And with that, at 8:56, let's adjourn in Sam Mulford's honor. Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you. Good
Thank
night.
you, Deborah.
Night, night.
Good night.